Barry Coates.
Mr. Speaker, tēnā koe.
Tēnā koe.
Mr. Speaker, I rise to address this bill, Films, Videos and Publications Classification Amendment Bill. One of the pleasures that I'm finding as a new parliamentarian is the need to go out and do a little bit of research on the bills that come before us. And I have learnt a lot about censorship in New Zealand in understanding the context for this particular bill. It is timely for this bill to be introduced. Censorship is 100 years old in New Zealand. It was introduced in 1916 in response to churches, local boards, education boards and social action organisations who were concerned about, in those days, the advent of film as well as books. There was a recent exhibition by Ngā Tonga Sound and Vision called Censored, 100 years of film censorship in New Zealand. And that traced back the history of censorship in New Zealand back to Battleship Potemkin, 1925 film, one of the greatest films rated of all times, followed by, which was censored, followed by All Quiet on the Western Front, which was regarded as anti-war propaganda, followed by films such as The Wild Ones in 1953, starring Marlon Brando, some of us may remember that, and up to Mad Max in 1979, all films which were, for varying periods of time, censored. So our censorship laws and practices have evolved significantly since then. It has not only been films that have been censored, there have been publications that have a political nature as well. So during the 1951 waterfront dispute, for example, it was illegal to publish material in support of the waterside strikers. So we've seen now censorship having evolved into its current form, and we have talked about the controversy around Ted Dawes' book, Into the River. Now, Mr. Speaker, I will join my Green Party colleague in welcoming this bill, and congratulations to Chris Bishop in having it drawn. However, it feels a little bit like we're fiddling while Rome burns. That actually technology has taken over the broadcasting and consumption of images and words in a way that is very hard for us to keep up with. The changes in technology have been quite profound. These days, kids can access material from around the world in real time across an amazing variety of media. And we need to be aware of what dangers there are for children, for adults, in exposure to some of this information on the internet. And I think that we have been focusing excessively on films, videos, books, and now perhaps games, without actually understanding that this is a moving picture, and in fact the landscape is shifting very quickly. So the question is whether our censorship processes and laws are able to deal adequately with the modern technologies. I think that is the relevant question for us in looking at censorship issues. We need to update our legislation. We need to update our practices. I fear that this bill will not take us far in that direction. As a minor tweaking of the current law, we are happy to support it. It rather seems like a shame to be spending a significant amount of parliamentary time when in fact the real challenges are elsewhere. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.